Howdy, all you delicious people. I'm here today to review Ghost from 1990. So, this is a movie about the afterlife, and it's a much more friendly variation of it. Such like movies like Heaven Can Wait, or The Heavenly Kid, or Ghost Dad to one of you out there. I would probably have to also compare this to Being Human, either the United States one or the British one, because of course there's two variations of that same show. But that goes on and also tells like a thorough and depth kind of thought process of what the afterlife could legitimately be. But all of those things are probably not as iconic, sadly enough, as this Ghost film. So, funny little tidbit about this movie, beyond your lucky numbers being 926311043. Whoopi Goldberg, come to find out, had gone on to hear through the grapevine that everybody and their brother was trying to audition for this film, as well as everybody kind of crawling out of their graves to audition for this film. Whoopi, it seemed, was to have been kind of taken aback by the fact that Patrick Swayze himself was to have only been interested in doing this role if Whoopi Goldberg was to have gone on and played the Oda Mae Brown character. And Whoopi was like, okay, like I guess I'll audition for this role, and I guess I'll play this part. And so the weird serendipitous event that is to follow is that Whoopi Goldberg herself was to have gotten an Oscar for said movie. Wow. How maybe this legitimate role may not have exactly been on her radar, but eventually getting a huge achievement of an Oscar at the end of it all is just really just like, wow, like how all of that had to connect together to just have that happen. But anyways, what happens within this film is to have a character named Sam Wheat, who at the ends of a gun is to be dead. So Sam, looking at the twinkle and light at the end of his tunnel, is to reject that possibility of heaven, to stay with Molly, to really go on and realize that that choice was to have been the best thing that he could have gone on and done, because there was some unfinished business of his. Sam had to go on to protect Molly from eventually a future threat that she is to not be aware of. A character at some point who is to be called Billy, who is calling another associate, and it seems we come on to find that Sam's death was to have all been planned out ahead of time. A conspiracy, not some kind of random chance. So Sam is to go on, and the more and more he is to find out from these villains, the more he is to try and turn around, and in desperation try to communicate this to Molly, but he can't. So Sam is then forced to try and find this psychic that at first he just naturally assumes that she is just some fake, putting on some kind of facade. But then the more and more that Sam is to start to communicate to Oda Mae Brown, the more he realizes that he's like, oh my god, I can use this woman to help me do my unfinished business, as almost as if this was some kind of The Sixth Sense kind of film, like as if Sam is going to tell her the combination of the safe so they can unlock some treasure of some kind, which eventually they do. $4 million worth of treasure. Sadly enough, to not be really taken in by anyone, but to be given away. Sad to say. But so, this still turns around to not finish up this story. To have then Sam realizing the more and more that he has gone on to put not only Molly's life in jeopardy, but then also Oda Mae Brown's. Sam is to go on and want to figure out how to have some supernatural ability to help his lover and his friend, to then try and go on and fight against these two men that eventually finish up our tale, finish up our story, and have them find the darker side of the afterlife. While Sam, after having his unfinished business be done, find his way home, as if he is to have been some kind of weird, bizarre quantum leaper. Sam hoping his next leap is the leap home. Quantum Leap, you remember that show? If anything, it also got rebooted, and then... Anyways, so... where can you go on and see said ghost film? Because if anything, it kind of took me to get a couple of tries to otherwise find Ghost, because it's on some kind of very goofy, unusual app called like MGM Plus or some goofy thing. So I had to go on and find within the Google Play Store, there's an app called Vidbox, VIDBOX, Vidbox. This is where you can go on to this app and be able to watch said ghost film. Because legitimately, every time I was to have gone on in an alternate app and try to figure out where I could watch this on, like, it legitimately, like, wasn't there. So it's like, okay, great. Like, the one movie I'd gone on and, like, planned and put all these things together, like, seriously, I was given a freaking difficult task of being able to see said movie. Come on. Like, but of course, that is to just be my luck of wanting to go on and justify seeing a movie, and the Herculean task of being able to do so. So, with that said, I have to go on and now get to the grading of this film and then go into spoilers and thoroughly break down this movie. So, with that said, I would say that Ghost is a fairly, for 2 hours, this movie is very slow paced. So much of a crawl, this movie is. But, man, is it just fascinating. Like, the whole, like, us getting an insight to what the afterlife could possibly be. And the fact that, like, the journey of Sam's character progressing into that whole, like, ability thing, like, that ends up becoming even more entertaining, to where it's like, okay, Sam, yeah, like, you're going on to, like take your unfinished business in your own hands kind of thing. Literally speaking. But so, yeah, so this movie, I would have to go on and say that it is, I want to say it's great. I do. Like, I think there's a lot of rewatchability in it. Like, either way, this is going to definitely be a thumbs up movie. It's iconic. Yeah, it's a slow burn film. But then also, I think people will legitimately, if anything, be putting pottery in a corner and watching this film and just, oh my love, I hungered for your touch. Yeah. Somebody will be whittling away at their pottery and just be like pining away for their lover. That is just to be a uh, a a ghost penny away. I don't know. But so, anyways, yeah, like this movie, like for how slow it is, it's entertaining, and uh, really, I gotta say that this movie is a lot uh better than some other um kind of supernatural films, and it has really good actors within it. So yeah, let's go on and let's break down this film. Let's go to our way to say that it is spoiler time. I'm going to go on and pause this video so I can get my cast list, or whatever I am to insist this to be on my phone, and break this bad boy down. Deep dish action and all. So with that said, let me pause here because it is spoiler time. Spoiler time. It's about that time you need to spoil this movie. Funny enough, like not really much of an actual cast list, like as far as names is concerned, through most of this film, because most of it is just like, oh yeah, this is Subway Ghost, and this is Emergency Room Ghost, and this is Secretary, and this is Banker, and this is like, yeah, like I went through like the whole cast list. I'm like, there's nothing here. Like, what do I even need this for? I just have to kind of remember who Molly is and who Sam is most of the time. So, with that said, in the very beginning of this film, spoilers, everybody, we are to go on to, it seems, have Molly, shirtless Sam, and shirtless Carl be going on to uh, do some like place flipping, some apartment flipping, and they're breaking down walls and extending the area of which that they're in, and at some point finding an Indian head penny. So Sam is to go on and grasp Molly, and Carl is to go on and say it's like, well, yeah, like you guys are gonna be able to like flip this whole thing and probably sell it and get twice as much as what it's really worth. So we then transition to have both Sam and both Carl making their way to their job, which I'm assuming is some kind of like financing. Like, it doesn't really seem that I can narrow down exactly what this job is, but it seems that they deal with just a lot of money. But like, it doesn't really seem that we know exactly what this business is. Like, at some point, they're going on and they're supposedly talking to this kind of foreign company, and so so Carl and Sam are making their way from out of the subway station, walking to their business, and we have Carl looking at Sam. It's like, hey man, like, what's wrong? Like, 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 hey, this isn't rocket science or anything. And Sam is just like, well, yeah, like, I can't go on and just so easily like tell him my joke that I know so well. And Carl's like, well, yeah, I get that, but like, like, don't sweat it, man. Hey, man. So they go on and they kind of compliment one another's wardrobe and end up seeing some car off to the side. And it's like, well, yeah, like, you better finish off paying off your Porsche. So here is some funny moments of this film that I'm like, all right, like, we're actually making like something interesting out of this kind of boring elevator scene. So Carl in this elevator with Sam is to just kind of be filled to the brim with people. And Carl all of a sudden is to start coughing. And so Sam turns to Carl. It's like, well, hey, yeah, like, did you talk to your doctor recently? And Carl's like, well, yeah, like, he said I shouldn't even be in work today, that I'm contagious. And so Sam is just like, well, yeah, what about that rash? And Carl's like, yeah, that's contagious too. I shouldn't be touching anybody. And so he's like, and then he like touches the guy. And then like the more and more that like Carl is talking, you could start to see people are just like, ugh. They get further and further away from him as if he has some like, as if he has the cove or something, as if he's deadly or dangerous to anyone. So Sam and Carl leave out of the elevator, and so Sam looks at Carl and is like, God, you are so evil. So Sam goes on and talks to Rose and realizes that the business people that they're going on to talk to are actually early. So Sam is like, oh, great. Oh, well, crap. So Sam eventually is to go on and find out that it seems that these people are to want to go on and have some money being thrown around. So Sam is scrambling to go to Carl and be like, "Hey, man, like I need to have this money being transferred." And Carl's like, "Okay, well, you gotta give you you gotta give me your password, so I can kind of get in there and change the money." So Sam goes on and does so. So we would eventually find within this movie that Carl is to need to figure out that passcode or that password to get into the computer. But so we transition here. So Molly is to try and bring in her sculptures into their new place. So this one guy is kind of using this pulley system to figure out how this angel is to make it into their humble abode. And Molly is to try to reach out her hand to get to the angel, but then Sam is to be there and is to just kind of grab onto Molly. And Sam ends up telling Molly, it's like, oh, I just saved your life. So Sam goes on and he just kind of, he grabs the window and then he kind of like swings and has both of his legs kick this angel for it to swing out and then swing back in for them to grab it and start pulling it down. Carl ends up arriving to just kind of start to help them out as Carl is just kind of looking around and like, wow, like you guys really improved upon this place. And Carl ends up sitting down at this kind of lazy boyish like chair, and Molly is telling Sam here, it's like, why do you still have this chair? Like it goes with nothing in this entire place. And Sam is like, well, it goes with me. And Molly's like, okay, fine, like we'll just repaint it. And Sam's like, what? So afterwards, both Sam and both Molly are just like they're kind of restless, and Molly turns to Sam and it's like, hey, like is it business? Like, is it that we kind of moved in too quickly together? And Sam is like, no, it's nowhere near nothing about us. Like, we're like both perfect for one another. And Molly's like, well, I love you. And Sam's like, ditto, because that's all he tells her is ditto. That's the magic words. So Sam turns on the telly and comes to find out that there is to have been some accident that is to have happened upon the TV, and that forces Sam to possibly think that at some point that he's gonna have to rearrange his travel plans. So really, after them just kind of like having like a real hard time, either one of them kind of sleeping, Molly goes on to start doing some pottery. I wonder where this is gonna lead. Oh, my love. Anyways, so Molly is going on and doing this sweet, sweet, uh, just long vase of a thing. She's having a good time until Sam is like, "Well, hey, can I help?" and ruins the whole thing. And Sam is to just tell Molly, it's like, well, I hope it wasn't a masterpiece. So she ends up starting again, and so like the more and more that Sam is to try and help, the more they aren't really getting anything done, so to speak. Because if anything, they're getting other things done, kissing and kissing some more, and where Molly used to go on and put her legs uh, wrapping around frickin' Sam. A loving moment. So transition to Sam going on and just kind of thumbing into accounts and realizing that there's way too much money in one account. Carl ends up coming in and like, hey man, what's going on? And Sam ends up stating to Carl, it's like, well, yeah, like there's too much money in this one account. Like I can't quite figure it out. Like I gotta kind of crunch the numbers and figure out why there's so much money in this account. It doesn't make sense. And Carl's like, oh, okay, well, hey, like, if you need any help, like, we'll kind of figure it out together. And also, hey, like, where are you going tonight? Because I really need to know where you're going tonight. So Sam ends up telling Carl, it's like, well, yeah, like, me and Molly, we're going to Macbeth. Like, it's going to be sweet. Like, if anything, like, I think that Molly just likes guys in spandex and really she doesn't really care for actual Shakespeare or whatever, but it'll be fun either way. So both Molly and both Sam make their way out of the Macbeth play, and the further and further that they start to talk and have a conversation about things, and eventually is to lead to a person coming out of the shadows. We'd have both Molly and both Sam being aware of the man behind them, and we would have Sam who springs into action as Molly is desperately calling out for someone to help them. Help, help, help. So both Sam and both now Billy, the man coming out of the shadows, is fighting together, and eventually Billy runs off, and so does Sam. Then Sam cannot go on to outrace Billy, so he wanders back to Molly. All of a sudden, noticing that Molly is clutching Sam and he's bleeding out. Sam, now a ghost, is to look upon his own body and realizing he is dying here. So, all of a sudden, Sam sees the twinkle of the stars and lights, and he's to all of a sudden be in this bed with the weird angel sculpture, and then is to be in a bed with Molly within it. But then all of a sudden is to start seeing the twinkle and the stars and the heaven. And then he is to look back and still be right where he had gone on and died moments before. And so he's looking at these lights, he's looking at heaven. But then he is walking back to Molly as the lights are to flicker and diminish. So Sam makes his way with Molly to the emergency room. So Molly goes on and talks to this doctor and is to kind of update Molly on Sam's condition. Like, dude, he's a goner. If he's already a ghost, he's gone. I'm sorry. It's what he should have just said. It's like, hey, you see him right there, right? He's a ghost. He's dead. I'm sorry, Molly, but like, in the very beginning of this film, like, what do you think that, like, he's all of a sudden gonna pull through and then he's gonna have another near death experience? No, he's dead early on in this movie. So as Sam did not know anything about his afterlife, he would be met by this emergency room ghost who is to also have a patient there that is probably going to die also. So this emergency room ghost goes on and is to inspect Sam's body and just be like, oh yeah, gunshot? Oh, okay, well. So the emergency room ghost looks at Sam and is like, yeah, I can tell you're new here, like you're a tourist. So like I'm gonna try and break a little bit of this down to you. So the guy goes on and tells him it's like, well, yeah, like the experience of just kind of going through like simply a door, like that's gonna be really awkward for you, but like if anything, like you'll get used to all this and so on and so forth. So they go on to watch as one other emergency uh like keeping alive patient is to be flatlining and going off into heaven, and so they're to watch him as he goes on to the pearly gates. And so after the emergency room ghost is to leave Sam is to just be like, what's going on here? As uh, these people are to go on and take his body and shift it to another location. And so Sam is to have uh, this or his own body as well as this nurse just kind of go through him. So we transition Sam to now making his way to his own grave. He's being buried at this funeral. All the while, Sam is to just kind of start to look around to start to see that there is another ghost going through a gravestone, and Sam is just to be baffled and confused by all this. At this moment here, like this part of the movie very much like reminded me of R.I.P.D., but like R.I.P.D. is a very much like action focused film where this movie is to be very much more slow paced. But if anything, it still just kind of reminded me of the Ryan Reynolds Jeff Bridges movie. So Molly now going on and having a hard time really letting go of Sam is to start her pottery and make this vase. And after like going on to have all these people either celebrate or mourn Sam's loss, Molly's going on and trying to talk to Sam, stating some things that some people had gone on and said, but then also she is to state that she just misses Sam so much, and putting this vase together is to possibly just kind of have it be another thing that just reminds her of Sam, like all these other things all around her that are to probably remind her of that guy, and just being like I miss you, like I just want to talk to you, this and that. So the more it seems that Molly is to go on and just be very like on her own, like not wanting to like have any real interactions with people, really just besides Carl because of her grief. Carl goes on and starts to continue to just kind of come over and talk to Molly, trying to figure out a way to get her to either move on or reminding her that it's like, hey, you're not the one that died, as Molly slaps Carl. But so the first thing that Carl tries to do here with Molly is to start to try and get rid of some of Sam's stuff, kind of thumbing through some of his things and kind of pick and choosing what to keep, what to give away as stuff like concert tickets or Rolaids are to be things that Molly tries to keep, and Sam's to say, like, you didn't even like that concert. Like, why are you keeping those? So, Carl and Marley, uh, after going on and having this moment where, like, Carl again is to remind Molly, it's like, hey, you're not the one that died. Slap happens. Carl tries to convince Molly, like, hey, like, how about we just go out for a walk? How about we both catch some fresh air? Molly at first is to be hesitant, but then again, she looks at Carl and she's like, okay, how about just a little bit? How about just I go out for a little bit? And they both leave. So Sam, who is to be still within inside this place, is to realize, oh my god, I have to like go outside and I have to push through this window, pushing his body as if like he is to not know what is to seemingly happen with this to have happened. So all of a sudden there is to be an opening of this door with this key, so Sam pushes himself back to realize all of a sudden Billy is just casually making his way through this entire place, sifting through a number of items, going through every bit of uh, what was Sam and is now Molly's stuff. So Sam at one point is to have gone on and been with Molly, and he was to have looked right in the eyes of the cat, and then the cat had jotted off, and Molly was to be kind of concerned about the cat. So Sam is to possibly realize that maybe he can figure out how to use the cat to assist him because he has nothing else. So while Billy is scrummaging through all of these things, all of a sudden Molly is to return, and Sam is now frightened of the fact that Molly could find Billy and end up dead like he had gone on to be in the past. So Sam is trying to put a wedge in between both Billy and Molly as Molly is going on and undressing as Billy is to watch on in the distance. And Sam is trying to threaten Billy, like, if you touch her, if you, yada. So Sam, like, realizes that a cat can go on and be, like, his saving grace here. So Sam looks right in the eyes of the cat, and the cat scratches Billy. Billy is to run off. Molly is to just be very, like, concerned about what is to have happened within her place. But I don't feel really goes on to think anything of it. Maybe assuming that something was to have been of the cat's doing, I'm not sure. But so Sam goes on to follow Billy into this subway and into this subway station and train, this North Rail, this whatever. All the while, Sam is thinking nothing of his surroundings, going with Billy and making his way through this train. All of a sudden, this subway ghost is to grab Sam here and be like, this is my place, get out of here, ah, this is mine, and is to be choking Sam and thrusting him even outside almost of this train. But luckily, Sam is to somehow get away from this ghost after this ghost is to be able to throw these things and break this glass and frighten Sam as much as he can. So Sam still goes on to follow Billy all the way to his home location. So Sam is to go on and hear from Billy through this call that he's like, well, yeah, like I didn't get what I was looking for, so I'll be back there soon. Realizing that now, like, Sam has to warn Molly that this guy is at some point going to come back. So, because he has Sam's wallet and has all the information he needs. So, Sam then goes on to seek out this Sister Oda Mae Brown's spiritual advisor. Contact the dearly departed for $20, it seems. Sounds like a deal, I guess, or maybe a steal because it seems like she's a fraud at first. So, we would have Sam making his way into this location to come to find that there is to be a woman named Rosa that approaches her appointment to have both Oda Mae's sisters kind of sit her down and just be like, hey, like, we're going to open this closet. There's going to be no one there. But then once we open this door back up, she's just going to appear and go on to do this whole performance for you. So Sam is to go on and watch this whole performance and really just see it all as some kind of hoax. Realizing the more that Oda Mae Brown is to talk to this woman, is like, oh, well, like, it's a very much cold reading, like, attempt where she tries to figure out, like, 10 different names that relate to this woman and finally one connects. And you could tell a lot of it is just kind of guessing from out of nowhere. And so the more and more Sam is just like, yeah, like, try to rip this woman off for all of her money. And the further and further that Sam starts to talk and badmouth Oda Mae Brown, finally, like, Oda Mae Brown is just kind of looking around like, who said that? Who said? And so Sam is like, wait a minute, you can hear me? And so Sam goes on and is consistently telling Oda Mae Brown, it's like, hey, if you can hear me, say my name. Say that I'm Sam Wheat. Say the name Sam Wheat. So Oda Mae Brown's sisters are freaking out. They're like, what's going on? And Oda Mae Brown is so oblivious, she just shouts out the word Sam Wheat. And Sam is like, aha, she did hear me. So Oda Mae Brown, like, going into this closet, just kind of blurry about what the heck is going on. And she's like, hey man, like, whoever you are, like, go away. And Sam is like, no way. And so Oda Mae Brown's like, oh my god. So Oda Mae Brown is with her sister, just kind of freaking out, like, stating that, like, her ancestry, her mother or whoever, at some point had actually had the gift of being able to talk to the afterlife, but she may have just naturally assumed that she could not have gone on and inherited this ability. But we would come to find out that that is to actually be wrong. So Sam is to go on and start to talk to Oda Mae Brown, and so Oda Mae Brown is like, well, hey, like, where are you? And Sam is like, well, I'm right beside you. And because she can't see him, she can only hear him. So Oda Mae Brown asks Sam, it's like, you're white, aren't you? So the further and further they talk, Sam is like, well, hey, like, I have to get this out. Like, you have to help me. You're the only one that can help me. So Oda Mae Brown is to have to go on and listen to Sam, or otherwise she's just gonna get annoyed the heck out of him. So, or annoyed by him, I guess, is what I really wanted to say there. So, Oda Mae Brown ends up calling Molly to state that she is to be calling Molly because of Sam, and Molly hangs up the phone. So Oda Mae Brown is like, well, that's all I can do. So Oda Mae Brown goes to sleep, and so Sam is singing the Ah Henry VIII I Am song, Henry VIII I Am, and if I can forget every single thing from this movie, bizarrely the only thing that is to always and forever retain within this film is the Ah Henry VIII I Am thing. I could have never remembered any single lick of this film but the Ah Henry VIII I Am thing. Um, probably not the whole entire lyrics of that song, but the Ah Henry VIII I Am, Henry VIII I Am I Am. I live the elector. So, uh, we have Oda Mae Brown that ends up, oh, okay, I give, you got me, I'll do whatever you want. Just leave me the F alone. Just let me sleep. So, Oda Mae Brown the following day is to go with Sam to hit number 3 or whatever the combination of number is to get Molly's attention. So, Oda Mae Brown Oda Mae, bleep, 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 that's all, folks. Oda Mae goes on to try again to talk with Molly through this intercom system. And again, it's like click like before, no answer. So both Sam and Oda Mae realize that Molly is still home. So the two of them go out to the streets to then be belting out all these things about Molly that only Molly and a dead Sam would go on and know. So Oda Mae goes on and is yelling to Molly about her certain underwear that it has a name written in it, and all these kind of outfits and all these things that probably Sam had ever gone on and bought Molly at some points, and whichever, like, only these secret things that only the two of them would have gone on and known. No one else would have known about any lick of any of these things. So Molly ends up going out to say, it's like, okay, like, I'll believe you. So Oda Mae and both Molly go to this restaurant, and Oda Mae now has to go on and convince Molly even more. So it's like, well, hey, I never wanted like this ability. Like I never wanted this to happen. But like if anything, like Sam is just annoying the crap out of me with the Ah Henry VIII I Am song. And Molly's like, that's how he got me to go out with him. And the more and more that Oda Mae is talking with Molly, and like Sam is saying, like, I'm right next to her, I'm holding her hand and this and that. So like the more that they're talking, the more uh like Molly is buttering up to Oda Mae Brown to the point to where finally they are to go back to her place, and Oda Mae Brown is to state word for word from Sam that Molly's in danger. That this guy that's to be at this address is coming for Molly. And Oda Mae Brown is to realize that this address is actually nearby her place, is nearby her uh, home. So Oda Mae and both Sam are to start to argue here, which almost has Oda Mae Brown want to leave this conversation because of how ticked off she's getting. And so Oda Mae is telling Sam, it's like, you better apologize. And so he does. So after both Molly and Oda Mae are having this conversation, we'd have Molly that relates all of this and tells all of this to Carl. And Carl is going on telling Molly, it's like, oh, well, like you can't really believe this person. Like, you know that there's a bunch of like swindlers and con artists that are like just trying to get you for your money, and like you can't really believe this woman, can you? So Molly goes on, it's like, well, like if anything, like she's told me only things that me and Sam knew in private, like nobody else knew. And so Carl's just like, yeah, but like you don't know how good these people are. You don't know how clever they are. So Carl goes on, like, well, okay, all right, well, So he leaves, and Sam follows Carl. Come to find out, Carl goes on to make his way to Billy's place, and here's the big reveal. Sam ends up getting mortified by realizing that Carl is to have been the guy putting forth the money to Billy to orchestrate this whole death of Sam, and is to do all of it just for blood money. Just for $4 million of blood money. And Sam is to just be like, oh, like, you were my best friend, and like, how could you betray me? So, like, to the point to where Sam is in such a rage that he used to want to go on and throw fists at Carl, but he obviously can't because he's a ghost. There's nothing he can do. So Molly then goes on to this police sergeant and is talking about Sam's case and how it's seemingly still unsolved. So Molly goes on and talks to this police sergeant about how this case could certifiably be more investigated because of Oda Mae Brown. And and Molly goes on and talks about ghosts in the afterlife. And so this one other police officer is just like, really? Ghosts are all around us? Like, man, now I don't think I'll ever go on and take all of my clothes off ever again. So his police sergeant goes on to look into Oda Mae's records and comes to find out that there is a plethora of different identities over time that Oda Mae Brown had gone on to be. You can kind of see the shifts and changes of her attire and wardrobe and whatever. So the police sergeant is to very much convince Molly that Oda Mae Brown is to have such a long rap sheet that there's no way that Oda Mae Brown is nothing more than just a conman or a swindler, or to figure out some convincing way to just work Molly over. So Molly, now in tears, just saddened to the point of taking her little jar of her Indian penny and thrust it down a flight of stairs for it to break and crash. So we have Carl making his way through this computer, and he ends up finally figuring out this passcode. So he goes on to call an associate, and they end up adjusting these accounts to have a name read off that it's Rita Miller. So Sam looks on, it's like, oh, okay, like now I know what you're doing. I can figure out a way to counter all of this. So we would go on to have uh, Carl show up at Molly's. And we have this happening because Carl is to look at his computer after adjusting certain accounts, and he is to be frightened by the fact that uh maybe I'm getting a little ahead of myself. Yeah, I think I'm getting a really ahead of myself. Yeah, uh, let's backpedal a little bit. So Carl, so after the whole situation of Carl getting the passcode, putting on Reddit, uh, uh, Rita Miller's name, Demi is to, or Demi, Molly is to go on and toss that coin down the stairwell. Carl goes on and again is to meet up with Molly here, and it seems that there is some seduction trying to be attempted here. I think at some point to really just have Carl to have time to look through Molly's stuff, as Billy had failed to go on and do before. So while Carl goes on and is talking to Molly here, we start to have Carl start to figure out how he can spill all of this drink onto his shirt and just be like, "Oh, what a klutzy me!" And he starts to take his shirt off, and Molly's like, "Yeah, I'll clean this. I'll clean this shirt for you." So Carl and Molly are starting to talk about Sam, and eventually Carl is to convince Molly that's like, well, hey, like maybe we deserve to move on. Maybe we deserve this and that. And so, very much paraphrasing here. Don't exactly remember exactly word for word what all happened and transpired here. Trying to figure out what the heck happened really in my brain. So Sam is hearing all this and just like, huh? Like what is he pulling at? What is he getting at? So Carl tries to put the moves on Molly, but this is all for naught. They're not getting to the bedroom. They're not. Carl is not successfully seducing Molly. So this then turns around to be all for naught because Sam was to try and jump on Carl, but he phases through the two of them to then knock this picture off of this table to then have Molly realize it's like, oh no, we shouldn't be doing any of this. So Molly goes on and is to just kind of figure out a way to just kind of get rid of Carl. So Sam makes his way to the subway to try and figure out where the heck that this subway ghost is, who had the ability to be able to touch these items and shift them. And he is to go on and do that because Sam kind of briefly was able to move that picture frame, but then whenever he tries it again, he fails miserably at it. So Sam, after a long stretch of montaging of Sam going through all of these other trains, these stations, these places, Sam goes on to finally find this ghost within one of the trains. And so again, this guy is like, "Well, hey, why are you here? This is mine. This is me. This is my place." And he starts flinging all this crap. So Sam is like, "Hey, I'm not leaving here until you teach me how you do what you're doing. How are you moving all of this stuff? I will not leave until you teach me how to do this." So, at Station 42, both Sam and the subway ghost are practicing, and the subway ghost tells Sam, it's like, well, I don't know exactly how you can focus and do this perfectly, but like, if anything, they try with this bottle cap, and Sam fails. The subway ghost succeeds to fling it. So we have the ghost explain that you got to take all of your anger, all of your hate, all of your this, everything, all your emotions. You just got to boil it all down into your stomach and just like you got to just you just got to do it. You just got to figure out like you're trying to move things with your hand. You got to move things with your mind. Like you're dead now. You have to realize that you're dead. So Sam goes on and takes this can and he fails at it, but then the second time around, he succeeds. He kicks it. It ends up going through the subway ghost's head. It's like, all right, now you've got it. So Sam goes on and is to fail at moving the shoe, but then again, he finally does hit the shoe. So it's like, all right, like you're figuring it out now. Like there's a pattern here. So Sam starts to go on and starts to flick and starts to hit all these things. So we now have the subway ghost that it's like, well, hey, like, who brought you here? Why are you here? Why are you after me? Why are you bothering me? So the subway ghost to get so frustrated that he breaks this cigarette machine. He's like, oh my god, what I would do for a drag right now. So the subway ghost is to get ever so frustrated at Sam to the point where uh like this ghost leaves, and so Sam is like, well, hey, now that I can accomplish all these things, I'm gonna get the heck out of here too. So Sam makes his way back to Oda Mae Brown to realize that all of a sudden her business is really picked up. If the afterlife is to still be a way down. So we have Sam this realize that Oda Mae Brown is to be surrounded by the afterlife, and Oda Mae Brown is now telling Sam, it's like, hey, like, I don't know how you got all these ghosts here, and like my business is just kind of booming the way it is, but like yeah, uh like like something is just kind of really taken off here. So we would have this ghost called Orlando that is wanting to speak with his loved one. And the more and more that Sam and Oda Mae are talking, the more Orlando is just like, well, hey, I want my time, so I'm going to get my time. So Orlando just thrusts himself into Oda Mae Brown's body and starts talking to his former lover, as she used to talk about how she used to have uh, her new hair and this and that. And so Orlando is to thrust back out of Oda Mae, and Oda Mae is to just be like, never do that. And is to just go on and be just so upset that she just wants everyone to leave. The living and the dead. Just get the F out of here. So we have Sam that goes on to talk to Oda Mae Brown and is to try and convince her, it's like, well, hey, like, yeah, I still, like, I need your help again. Like, if anything, I need uh to not only like protect Molly still because she doesn't know what's going on, but then we come to find out that we're also needing to figure out a way to protect Oda Mae Brown and her sisters, because all of a sudden Billy stumbles into a psychic reading, and Sam now has to tell Oda Mae Brown, it's like, hey, this is Billy, the guy that killed me. And as Oda Mae Brown is to start to talk to this guy, it's like, oh, you're Billy? That Billy? And so she thrusts this table and is to make her way uh, into this closet where Billy is to start to fire upon this closet and then runs off. Oda Mae's sisters reunite with Oda Mae, and it seems that she is okay. So Sam is going on and telling Oda Mae Brown, it's like, well, hey, now, now will you hear me out? Now will you go on and like help me help you help finish my unfinished business here? So Oda Mae hears Sam out. So the two of them make their way to this bank. So we'd have Oda Mae Brown and Sam kind of making their way to this bank, and so Sam makes fun of Oda Mae Brown's hat and also like her outfit that she has to go on and wear. But hey, like I'm sure no one really has kind of really nice clothes and whatever. And if anything, I'm sure Oda Mae like goes on and just kind of gets whatever she is to have here. So they make their way to this bank, and so Oda Mae Brown now has to state that she's Rita Miller, and when she's to be talking to this banker, she accidentally signs the wrong name on this piece of paper, as she's kind of getting fed information from Sam of what she should be doing here. So she, Oda Mae, is to be speaking to this woman, is to be talking about this transfer and this and that. So while that's going on, we have Carl, who is on the computer and on his phone, getting all these phone calls and kind of being very much distracted, not exactly knowing what all is going on with his $4 million account. So both Sam and Oda Mae are to make their way to this security guard, which will take them to Lyle Ferguson. And Sam is to, of course, be very aware of Lyle and is to have Oda Mae talk to this guard about this party that Sam had been at, to where Lyle was so drunk he probably wouldn't have even remembered that he could have spoken to Tina Turner if she was even there at that party. So, which I thought was just kind of a really fun joke. So, Lyle going on and remembering that party is just like, okay, bring her over. So, Lyle then starts talking with Oda Mae, and Sam is to give every bit of information of Lyle to Oda Mae to pretend that she knows Lyle very much, talking about his kids or his dogs or his pets or something, and to go on and just kind of talk about all the business transactions that they've had, and like, oh yeah, like that's perfectly correct here, yeah. So Lyle ends up going on to looking at the account that this woman named Rita Miller is to want to get, and he realizes that it's $4 million. So then he relays that to Oda Mae Brown. She's like, $4 million? Yes, $4 million. So Lyle's like, well, how do you want that? It's like, oh, tens and twenties. So, and it's like, no, cashier's check. So they give her the cashier's check, and we all of a sudden in the distance realize that Molly is also here at this place. So Sam is just kind of hurrying this along. It's like, hey man, we gotta get the heck out of here. And Sam goes on and it's to just kind of drop these things, forcing then Molly to try and pick them up to just use as a distractionary tool. So Oda Mae leaves, and so Molly ends up asking this banker. It's like, well, hey, like, who was that you were speaking to? Was it Oda Mae, Oda Mae Miller or Oda Mae Rita, Oda Mae Brown? And Lyle's like, oh no, it was Rita Miller. And Molly was like, oh, okay, all right, sure. realizing that there is something afoot here, but Molly can't quite put her finger on it. So we then have Carl, who is making his way through his account, realizing that the account is closed. He's going on and asking anybody in the company, like, hey, like, has anybody been messing with the computer? To, of course, be left with some people just kind of questioning Carl. It's like, well, hey, do you need any help with anything? Like, and Carl's like, no, 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 like, everything's fine, even though he's sweating like the Sahara Desert. So Oda Mae Brown is talking to Sam, and Sam tells Oda Mae Brown, "Is like, hey, you're never gonna keep this money. Like, it's blood money. Like, if anything, if you have this money, somebody's gonna come after you for it. So, like, if anything, you should donate it. You should give it away to charity." And they end up seeing a couple of nuns there, so it's like, hey, give it to them. Give this 4 million, sign it to Rita Miller, give it to those people. So the nuns look at the check, it's 4 million. One of them passes out. And Sam goes on and tells Oda Mae, it's like you're gonna go to heaven, Oda Mae. Like you did a good deed here. And Oda Mae is like, like whatever. So she storms off because she's all frustrated because she was going on and talked about how she was gonna buy the town and buy an island or buy all these things with all of this money. It's like you were never gonna keep the money. So turn around now, Carl, who's going on and he's at this computer and he's crunching the numbers like, oh my god, what happened? And Sam is in the background just gloating. It's like, hey, look at your accounts, they're now empty, huh? So Sam goes on to kind of take this chair and thrust it to the other side of the room, and Carl's like, hey, what the heck was that? So all of a sudden, like, Carl starts to be kind of very baffled and very confused as all of a sudden this computer is to type in the word murderer, and Carl's like, who did that? Who did that? And all of a sudden it starts to say Sam a bunch of times. So Carl's like, oh my god. So Carl, of course, goes on and does what Carl always does. And so Carl makes his way to Molly and is to start to talk to her. And Molly is asking Carl, it's like, hey man, are you okay? Like, you look ill, you look sick. Like, what's going on? And Sam is like talking to Carl. It's like, yeah, you have any business problems today, Carl? You lose any money today, Carl? You're gonna fry for this, Carl. They're gonna kill him. So Molly's going on to like, well, hey, can I get you something? And Sam is like, yeah, cyanide. So Carl goes on and goes in the kitchen as Sam just starts poking Carl, to where Carl now whips out this knife and is to threaten Sam. It's like, well, hey, like if I don't get my money back, I'm gonna kill Molly. So Sam is just like, oh. So Carl drops the knife, and Molly's like, Carl, are you okay? And Carl's like, yeah, I just, like something business related just kind of come out. I'm just gonna leave. So Sam makes his way back to Oda Mae Brown, and we're at a point now where uh, both Carl and Billy are trying to figure out where now Oda Mae lives because they realize that she's all connected with this and that Oda Mae probably has the money. Because at some point, while Carl had gone on to talk to Molly while he's getting his possible future cyanide and kind of being joked about by Sam, Molly ends up talking to Carl about uh, re-catching up with Oda Mae Brown and realizing that she had gone by this name Rita Miller. And Carl then realizes that Oda Mae Brown has to have somehow figured out how to have gotten this money. So that forces both Billy and Carl to make their way to Oda Mae Brown. So Billy ends up firing off these bullets to open Oda Mae Brown's place, to come to find out that she is not there. Both Oda Mae Brown and her sisters make their way to one of their neighbors, banging on the door, hoping that one of them is going to answer so that way they can sneak into there to kind of watch off in the distance as Billy and Carl try to make their entrance into their place. So, as Billy makes his way through Oda Mae's place, he would all of a sudden go into this bathroom to all of a sudden within this mirror and this other portion of bathroom start to get frightened by Sam pushing and shoving and writing boo upon this mirror, to then have Billy just be like, oh my god, what the heck is going on? So Billy is so frightened that he rushes from out of Oda Mae's place, is running off. Carl's like, what's going on? What the heck is going on? Billy is so frightened that he is flinging himself down these stairs and making his way outside of this building to continue to get thrusted by Sam's ghost. Jostled, thrusted to the point of now Billy screaming, help me, somebody help me. There's no one that can help you, Billy. This ghost is getting revenge, sadly enough. So Billy is to just be so out of sorts and not really knowing what all is going on, to the point of him getting sandwiched in between two vehicles into a car accident that leaves his body flung quite a bit of distance, to then have that body reemerge and get up, to all of a sudden come to find that the body of Billy getting up and making his way back to these two cars is to find yet another more bloodied up Billy, because now Billy is dead. So Sam off in the distance is like, hey Billy, you're dead. Sorry to break the news to you, but you're freaking dead now. So Billy, realizing that he's like, okay, like, where's the twinkle of lights? Where's the stars? Where's my pearly gates? They're not coming, Billy. That's not what's in store for you. Instead, we are to all of a sudden get these shadows that start to creep further and further up to Billy, as if he is to be Pac-Man. And these blackened ghosts are to grab Billy and drag him off horrifically with their sounds and horrific like natures, making us realize that more than likely Billy is making his way to hell instead of heaven. So both Sam and Oda Mae are making their way through this taxi. And this taxi is not nearly going fast enough, because they realize that they have to make their way to Molly to try to figure out a way to save her from Carl, because Carl is so connected to all of this. So, and they have to figure out a way to just kind of keep her safe here. So, this taxi driver is not nearly driving fast enough, so Sam is just punching the gas here. Now the cabbie is forced to now drive this car as quickly as he can. So Oda Mae comes knocking on Molly's door, to then again try and convince Molly that Oda Mae is the real McCoy here. going on and convincing Molly that's like, well, hey, like the earrings that you're wearing and the shirt you're wearing, Sam spilled a margarita on, and he bought you those rings at some point. And Molly's to realize, like, oh yeah, like I guess that is true. And so Oda Mae is like, I'm not fake. Like, you have to believe me. Like, if anything, like your life's in jeopardy right now. So Sam ends up going through the wall and is to tell Oda Mae to push a penny through the door. So then Sam could put the penny and kind of push it up against this door and then hand it to Molly and tell her that the penny is for luck. Now convincing Molly that like ghosts are real, Sam is there, and what Oda Mae Brown is telling her is the absolute truth. So while Oda Mae is just kind of off in the distance, both Molly and Sam are technically talking through Oda Mae Brown. Oda Mae having to go on and recite everything that Sam is saying. So after Molly and Oda Mae are to kind of talk about like kind of what's much more going on now, with kind of Carl still being in the lurk somewhere, and that Molly's in danger. Molly still is to be thinking about Sam and how the fact that he's supposedly sitting right next to her, even though Molly can't actually see him, and Molly is still possibly thinking that both her and Sam can just have one last moment together, and Sam would go on and like that. So Oda Mae is like, okay, just use my body. Just use it before I just second guess my whole life decisions. So Sam goes into Oda Mae's body. It seems that they are to share like a hug or a dance with one another. And then Carl, of course, is to make his way just banging and screaming or whatever. And so that leaves both Molly and Oda Mae Brown like, hey, we got to go to the fire escape. We got to try to get out of here. And Carl makes his way into Molly's apartment. Sam is now out of Oda Mae's body and is like, man, what happened to me? Like, ugh, I can't get my mojo back. Like I can't go on and hit Carl like I want to or stop him like I'd want to. What's going on? So here's also the interesting things when we do have Sam who's going on and trying to face off against guys like Billy and Carl through the later parts of these scenes here when Sam is to try to get the upper hand and fight off these characters. We get this kind of weird like heroic music, this kind of thing. It's very funny and it's very like okay, yeah, like you have to just pipe in this like very heroic like music which is just kind of very weird. Like we almost have like I feel Ghost being like so close almost to like a movie like The Crow, or like it tries to as much as possible to like make you feel like it's some kind of like superhero movie, even though it's just this like supernatural ghost like piece. But we're trying to build so much so that Sam is to be this like superhero-ish character, as if he's going to be having like a cape be wafting in his wardrobe of afterlife, and it's just not happening. But like, oddly enough, I guess you just have to have that music piped in, even though it probably doesn't really rationally fit the whole situation. It's kind of just fun and weird. But anyways, let's move on here. So Carl makes his way through the fire exit as he is following both Oda Mae and Molly here. So the two of them make their way to this other apartment. So the two of them make their way up this ladder, and Carl is shortly there behind. So Carl figures out a way to grab Oda Mae and thrust her down, and is to almost kill her here. But then Sam gets in the way, and so Sam tries to start attacking Carl, and so then Carl figures out a way to get to Molly, grabs her, and then is to hold a gun to Molly. It's like, well, hey man, like, where's my money? Like, I'll kill her if I don't get my money. Sam figures out a way to disarm, with his ghost powers, Carl's gun, and so now we start to see that Sam is starting to face off against Carl, and is to start like punching and having these things fall upon Carl. Now Carl is just struggling through all these assortment of things, and at some point Sam is to just kind of push this pulley system into the way of Carl, which bashes this window. Further and further, Sam is to go on and continue to push Carl and have Carl fall slightly out this window, to have this window close upon Carl, forcing this bit of glass to thrust into Carl's stomach, killing him. Carl ends up going on to spot Sam. He's like, Sam? Huh? I guess I'm fine after all. But then he ends up turning around to then realize, oh, I'm dead. Yeah, Carl, you're dead. Enjoy what is going to be happening next, because that's the last thing you're probably ever going to enjoy in the rest of your afterlife. Because, again, we have the dark spirits making their way to grab Carl, thrusting their hands upon his entire face and or body, and carrying him away to the saddened afterlife. So, after that, we would then go on to have Sam that is going on and talking to Oda Mae Brown, and all of a sudden Molly can start to hear Sam. Even much more so, she starts to see him also. I guess because of this life-threatening near-death experience, maybe Molly is to finally just have some way of being able to see spirits, seemingly now that this is all transpired, that this has all happened. So Sam is to all of a sudden see the white lights and twinkle of heaven calling for him again, realizing like, okay, now buddy, like, hey, like, your unfinished business, it's now finished, so like, you got to wrap this movie up. Weirdly enough, this movie is 2 hours, and I was somehow to figure out a way to only talk under 2 hours. Isn't that amazing? Finally, for once, having the ability. Whoo! I thought that this was going to take like 2 hours and a half, and I would be like, man, I'm going to doze off somewhere in this review. Wow, is this a miracle of life or what? But then again, also, like, if I could have consistently been able to do that every single time, to figure out how I can just narrow down a movie to just kind of make it under a smaller amount of time. But again, a lot of people would probably say an hour and a half is probably way too long. But anyways, so Sam goes on and is talking to Molly and Oda Mae, and so Oda Mae is like, hey man, you better get going, or maybe they'll close the gate for you. Like, hey man, come on. Like, we know you love Molly, but hey, man, like, you could just speak with all the dead people that have ever been a thing. Like, uh, you get to talk to all those celebs. Maybe you'll talk to that Patrick Swayze guy. But so Sam goes on and is to kiss Molly, and is to tell her it's like the love inside, like you keep it with you always. And for how this entire movie would go on and have it to where Molly would say to Sam that she loved him, and Sam would say ditto, to the point then turning around to then have Sam tell Molly that he loved her, and Molly's like, Sam would have never gone on and said that, like, and then Oda Mae is yelling out the words ditto, and then Molly's like, oh, it really is him. Like, this whole changing back and forth of things is so interesting into this movie, to where in the very tail end of it all, we then have Sam that goes on and tells Molly that he loves her, and then Molly says ditto back. Just like the fun just transition of this all, um to really just be this thing between this couple, but continuing just kind of to get it flipped throughout this entire film, is just really interesting. Oh, completely forgot about the movie Invisible, or Invisible, where the one kid goes on and is like on a near death, like almost dying, and he only has the one person who had gone on to put her, or to put him in that sewer, and the girl goes on to eventually hear that guy, and does eventually try to go on and figure out a way to help him, and she ends up dying by the end of the film, sadly enough. I had gone in and I think reviewed that at some point, uh, but it's been so long since I've even seen that movie. I don't even remember what the title of it was, but I know it's like Invisible, or it's Invincible, or it's something like that. I know it has that kind of title. But yeah. Uh, anyways, another ghost film that is just kind of rather interesting. But anyways, so Sam does go off in heaven, and that is to how, or that is to be how this movie finishes up. So with that said, I think I'm going to finish up here, so I can try to get this movie as quickly done as possible, so I can turn around and put it out there for you, the viewer. Thank you for going on and listening to all of this, because legitimately I don't think I really had much of real things to just talk about in this one. But then again, every once in a while there would be a popping of this or that and whatever have you. But um if anything, like, I don't think I've ever completely 100% watched this movie from start to finish. I feel I always kind of randomly like get a clip here or there of this film, but I've never actually fully sat down and from beginning to end actually watched this film. So it's actually nice to just kind of see how this film all transpired, and eventually, um like, all broke down. And so yeah, so this one was fun. Plus also, yeah, like I stated, like probably before, like, I love supernatural content, and if I can go on and find like the best possible movies that people will actually give a crap about, then like that's really nice for once, to just finally find a film that um people may actually want to check out, rather than some content that I'll have a lot of fun with. But it is what it is as far as viewership is, and I realize that I need to go on and really get back to a lot more reviews that are going to be actually seen by people in this may not be it. But um, I'll probably go on and do another probably Bruce Lee movie or some other iconic film that people have probably been waiting for me to go on and talk about, and I haven't, because legitimately, like, I've just kind of been going on to do something other than reviews to just finally just kind of break the monotony of these kinds of projects that just kind of take a lot out of me every single day. Um, but anyways, I'm going to get the heck out of here. Thank you for going on and hearing me out, because without a doubt, uh, at some point, hopefully, I will continue to come back to the reviews. I was just kind of tempted to go on and do another top 50 thing, but those things aren't at all getting any kind of views. So I'll see what eventually this movie gets me, and then I'll have to just realize that, like, man, was this a mistake, and then try and do another probably Bruce Lee film coming, I'm sure, or eventually I should get to Honey I Shrunk the Kids, because I had gone on to survey people and they had voted and they took that time. So legitimately, that should probably be a future project coming out. I'm sure there are a plethora of other videos that I'm sure maybe no one asked for that I might want to be tempted to just see if they do well view wise. Um, there are other projects that I'm just kind of tempted to just kind of tip my toe in, like uh, the cartoon show Gem. Why, I don't know. If anything, I'm probably just gonna more alienate my viewers. Just be like, why in the is he picking this? Because I think it's just a rare bit of content that's not on YouTube and reviewed by anybody. So that's why I'm testing it. That's why I'm looking into it, and that's why I can possibly go on and be the first one, or be the one that sticks out as far as this content is to go. Because I feel that eventually I will grow within this channel because of it. Just sadly enough, I'm just trying to just, like, instead of going on and doing something that I would absolutely just love to do, I'm going on and uh, taking on certain movies or shows that I would just assume people are gonna go on and check out. Uh, but like, it's not to say that, like, whatever stuff that I'm going on and just kind of forcing myself to review, like, there is good payouts with that. Like, it's not like I'm either completely phoning it in, or it's not like I actually hated that project and I'm lying and faking what I'm saying of my enjoyment of any of it. No, like, it's just like, it's just not something that I would have actually picked out for me to watch. It's just not, I'm being honest. Um but if anyways, let's just get out of here before I just more so um just like ruin everything that I'm going on and trying to do here, and sabotage myself. But if anything, I just want everyone to know, like, I'm trying as much as possible to be genuine and honest, and very much like forthcoming about all of this process of just doing this kind of stuff. Um, I would love to hopefully just do like one more like top 50 list and then just rest that kind of content, realizing that it's gonna go nowhere. Um, but there's stuff of just like, man, I wanted to go on and do like a top 50 supernatural characters list, or I wanted to just kind of do um something of certain libraries, like top 50 Star Trek characters, because I've never really talked about Star Trek on this channel whatsoever, and it would just be nice to just kind of do Star Trek for once. But anyways, I'm gonna get out of here. Bye, everybody. Bye, everybody.